As Cassandra Halong moves effortlessly about the dance floor in Greensboro,
Woo!
she is, quite literally, a world away from the life her father endured a generation before.
In right side, very good. In left side.
When you hear the stories of what your dad and family went through, what do you think of that?
It's almost hard to believe that those things are actually true. But when I hear it, it just makes me appreciate being American born and having the blessings and the luxuries that I have.
And slow.
For Cassandra, this dance class is one luxury she enjoys as she pursues a career as an actor and performer.
These newcomers to the Piedmont are modern-day pilgrims.
35 years ago this month, her father was one of 200 Vietnamese Montagnards who arrived at the Piedmont Triad Airport to regain not luxury, but the most basic human right to life. He was 30 years old, walking into the Greensboro airport, having no clue what American life was like and what it must have been like for them.
I honestly think about that more the older that I get.
For many in her family, life itself seemed like a luxury.
I was born in September 20th, 1955.
Ishu Halong was born into war in Vietnam.
Who is that? It's me.
Is it? Okay.
When I first came here.
As the violence hit its peak in the latter 60s, Ishu was barely a teenager, still on the shy side of 13 and trying to go to school.
I want to join Special Force, but I am too small, too short, they don't accept me. My classmate, my roommate, at that time, during vacation, 3-month vacation, a student go join Special Force, big money. And then when time to go back to school, we go back to school. That's how we did during the war.
Did some of them die?
Yeah, some of my friends, they died, they were killed during the time they were in the unit,
Ishu was one of the indigenous people of central Vietnam who the French colonizers called simply Montagnards, French for mountain people.
The Montagnards were really at that time a forgotten group of people, literally. They'd helped the U.S. forces, special forces in Vietnam.
And were loved by those Green Berets.
Our lives are in their hands every day.
How so?
We lived among them every day, 7 days a week.
The Montagnards were the Special Forces' lifeline in jungle warfare.
Because they understood how to fight the guerrilla war that was going on over there. We had no clue.
The Green Berets knew the Montagnards would endure any hardship to win their independence.
Sometimes we get fight like 2-3 times a day. Sometimes we don't have food for a week or something like that. Sometimes we don't have water to drink because we are surrounded by the enemy, And all the water spring in the jungle, they put poison in the water,
The 200 Montagnard or Dagai in this camp are very much a minority, just as they were in Vietnam.
When WGHP told their story 35 years ago, the people we spoke to who were working with the Montagnards said their story was one of survival.
Thousands were killed.
The thing about these guys is they couldn't go home. They were wanted men.
To think that they could survive 10 years like that, just running from the enemy all the time.
And only their enemy, the communist Viet Cong, had guns. If you had stayed in Thailand and Vietnam, you'd probably be dead by now.
Yes, sure. Because, at that time, like in 1975, the communists were very vile. They kill people like animals. Especially for us, the Montagnard people, they try to genocide us all.
But as our original report showed, if the Viet Cong didn't get them, starvation might.
Digging roots, and even poisonous roots, but scraping them down just to have enough to eat. And then for 10 or 11 years, they couldn't even stop in any one place to farm.
Malaria, diarrhea, and many people died from those diseases, and starvation too.
But you didn't consider just giving it up any sooner?
We could not, because if we gave up, that means we must die.
But in 1986, the American government made a decision.
I think the Special Forces people here felt a responsibility to help the Montagnards. And I think there's a similar sort of feeling among those who've served with the Afghani people that we've got to help these people because they helped us.
It was time to get our friends to safety.